Breaking news this evening, my friends. As it's been revealed, ourselves and Arsenal are battling it out to sign this Ligue 1 midfield sensation. I'll be breaking down the news, giving you guys a player profile, and also discussing potential alternative targets too. So a lot to break down. You don't want to miss nothing, my friends. And very quickly, if you're planning to get any gifts for your loved ones in time for Christmas, the Mega Store has you lot absolutely covered. There's some excellent Christmas merchandise ranges on show right now. I'm not going to lie, I'm actually tempted to get this for my dad. Hopefully he's not watching this so I don't ruin the surprise. And he even got his size too, which is mad. So if you guys want to get something for yourselves, of course, affiliate links in the card above, description below. Use Nini10 at checkout to get a full 10% off your final order. And now we start things off by discussing the latest news surrounding Ayyoub Bouaddi, currently playing for Lille. Tonight, it has been revealed by Fabrice Hawkins that Chelsea and Arsenal are paying great attention to his services this January. At the moment, Arsenal are pushing very hard, but Lille's management wants to extend his contract at the moment because they think that with his hype and his potential involvement in the French national team for the World Cup, well, his valuation could rise to astronomical levels. That's a little, psyops, but I'm going to give you guys the full breakdown behind this report and this story and what exactly is going on right now. Now, this season, Bouaddi, who made his debut season last season, he's already clocked like 14 Ligue 1 games, 4 games in the Europa League. He's got some serious motion right now, and I think actually he's kind of benefiting from Gomez leaving Lille to sign for Marseille. He has a lot of responsibilities in those deep midfield areas for Lille, but at the moment Bouaddi has a year and a half left on his deal, hence why Lille are actively trying to find ways to get him to sign a contract extension. Now, they have beliefs that they're optimistic that the player will agree to extending at least, knowing that he could move in the summer window. However, right now it's been revealed that Arsenal are making a very strong push for his services, which has triggered our interest to get involved right now. And it seems like we are both prepared to make 45 million euro offers to sign the French international, under 21 player of course, in this window. Now, as it says here, the sporting director Andrea Berta has already contacted the players' reps and agents to kind of understand, how much interest there is from the players' side to make a move right now. In the meantime, there has been interest from clubs like United, Liverpool, Paris Saint-Germain really like the player as well too, but they aren't actually ready to make any moves for him in this January window. So if there's one thing you guys understand about transfer news, first come, first serves, first dibs. That's how this business works, because the most aggressive, forward-thinking clubs end up getting these players because most times, you guys, if there's a top player on the market, 5-10 clubs are all chasing the same guys. So yeah, it's really interesting to see what happens here. So much to discuss, so much to talk about, hence why I have to really format this video today to kind of encapsulate all the conversations that can be had right now. But for myself, if there was a chance for us to maybe win the battle to sign this guy, I think one thing that could work in our favor, as we've shown these last few windows, is reaching a pre-agreement for the player. Now, let's try and put our thinking caps on. If we sign him in the January window, there's a lot of depth here, a lot of options, right? And I'll be discussing that later on. So a way maybe to get the advantage over Arsenal's and others could be to allow him to remain on loan at Lille until the end of the season, or potentially have another extended loan spell the following season afterwards. Because you know what? If he can get over 100 apps playing for Lille by the time he's like 19 or 20, and then he's potentially ready to come to us, that works for the player and that works for ourselves, because it gives us time to kind of maybe move on others or see how others do as well. I think that could be the best way to maybe beat out Arsenal to signing him. But at the same time, Bouaddi could be thinking, well, being understudy to Zubimendi, Declan Rice, that's some great education, knowing that I could be a future star player in that midfield. I'll get healthy amounts of minutes, being around top players and potentially be involved in a title push this season, with Arsenal, many points ahead in the table right now. So I find it fascinating that this news has come out, but I just feel like if Arsenal now are making, big claims to try and get this guy, I'd imagine that it's encouraging us now to step the hell up and try and engineer and force the remove. So that's all the latest news surrounding Bouaddi. But right now, I want to discuss what this news actually means for players that we already have in our club. I'm going to go to that right now because I think there's one player on all our minds that we're all thinking about. And naturally, that's going to be Romeo Lavia. Lavia hasn't had the best introduction to life at Chelsea. I think one thing we constantly forget is that we already signed him. No, when we signed him, he was already injured. Like, we fully knew what we were getting ourselves into. I think we kind of expected him to get back. Maybe at times that work under Pochettino didn't help because when he did get back, he had immediate setbacks. And maybe if you could go back in time, you're probably kind of, switching up and changing his rehab program to allow him to get back into the pitch in the best possible capacities. That hasn't been the case for him. And after Enzo Maresca today revealed in his press conference that Romeo Lavia, of course, has a muscular problem that we all know about. I think the muscular issue is with his quadricep. He has no idea when he's set to be back. When pressed, whether this is going to be like a long-term injury or short-term injury, Maresca says we just don't know, which isn't promising news because with a club like us, you do know that we do kind of prioritize the cost of a player. And it wouldn't surprise me if the club are looking at the stats thinking, listen, he's been here 3 seasons now. He's played less than 30 games throughout. He's on, 100-something thousand a week, potentially. I don't know the figures off by heart. We're paying this guy to kind of just focus on rehabilitation instead of offering something on the field. With the depth of options on the market, do we cash in on this guy and maybe find replacements for him? I mean, that's the only way I'm seeing things around this deal. Now, my personal opinion, I'd give Lavia a bit of time. Hopefully he comes back as the season goes on. He's only 21 years old. I feel for the kid. He must be more frustrated than any Chelsea fan has the right to be. Fingers crossed he can kind of come back because the few showcases of his potential, he's showing that there is something there, right? On the other hand, what does it mean for a Dario Sugo? I mean, he's trying to get back right now. We learned from the club that at the moment, he's kind of slowing down with his rehab program, and I need to stop just saying rehab. Obviously, they don't want him to like overextend himself as he's looking to kind of get back on the training ground again. And it seems like something must have happened, which has kind of made the club let him take a bit of time out and slowly recover back. But realistically, this guy is most likely to come back in the January month next year, and there's a lot of hope and promise around this guy. So my thinking is, if you're potentially making a move for an Ayyoub, surely that means that you're thinking about replacing him with someone else. But then, can you really do that this January? Does it make any sense to bring him in right now? It goes back to my previous point that the only way I could see us getting this deal wrapped up is if we reach a pre-agreement allowing him to remain at Lille first. So let's watch this space, my friends, because in the meantime, we have more big discussions to have right now. And I think we've got to turn our attentions to understanding what type of player Ayyoub actually is. Yeah, my friends, obviously, you guys, you know your football. You're quite tapped in. You're quite well-versed. You guys, most of you probably already heard his name and know the player. But I'm going to give you guys a bit of a recap for others that want to get a deeper understanding behind this game. Now, he comes from the renowned Lille Academy that's produced your Euros, Dignes, Hazards, Cavaliers. You can go on. And it looks like Ayyoub is the next one to blow. In my opinion, I see like identical stylistic comparisons like a Camavinga. I think they're that type of player. Technical, tempo setters, ball to ground, ball to feet type of merchants, press resistant and comfortable receiving from their defense to kickstart the next move. He is in that type of modes. But maybe one player I think he could possibly evolve to become would be like a Frankie de Jong, because I do think that Ayyoub definitely has really strong potential world-class qualities when it comes to his carrying abilities. He knows how to kind of glide on the field. I mean, the guy's like 6'1". He might end up being 6'2", 6'3", but 6'1", just turned 18. That's a lot to work with, right? He's always constantly receiving on the half turn. He can dribble with both feet, even though, I think I'm trying to remember, right-footed, left-footed. I mean, he's comfortable using both feet, but he is predominantly more of a right-footed type of player. But outside of those qualities, maybe for myself, I don't think that his final third play is fully there. I don't think he has that adventurous pass in him. He's not really looking to kind of complicate the game or take many risks or chances right now, which is understandable as he's now just finding himself and there's a process behind development. You're not supposed to be this prime Messi-esque player at 18 years old. It just don't work like that. So I think right now the fundamentals he's showing, that ability to read the game, tactical awareness, understanding, knowing what his team needs in particular moments and zones on the field to help progress play forward, move the ball forward. Details like how he manages his physicality on the field. Details like how he shapes his body all the time, because in a possession like the DM roles, you're getting pressed left, right, center, front and back from every type of angle, which means that you need to have that awareness before you even receive the ball, and you're constantly playing on that type of edge. Yeah, it's a role that has a lot of like tactileness and a lot of skill, and normally experience is great. So when you see these young talents that already have that know-how with their thinking, that tactical awareness, yeah, I can see why top clubs love that. Because I think for myself, when you look at Ayyoub, don't see the finish article, see someone that a big club can mold. Let's use Camavinga as an example. Back when he used to be the original Ayyoub, when he was 16 making his thing, it's very easy for our imaginations to go like, wow, possibilities are endless. He's going to be one of the greatest midfield players the game has ever given birth to. But at the moment, he's a bit of like a squad guy for Real Madrid. He's played a lot of games as a left back and an inverted player. It's not as straightforward and that simple. And I think maybe, I don't know, I appreciate this type of midfield player, but at times, when it's kind of just like a condensed type of role where, it's about defending, it's about tactical awareness, it's about short, crisp passing. Not really much adventurous play in the final third. Not much, really risky progressive passing to release and kickstart attacks. Is that an option we need in the team right now? That's how I'm seeing things. But on the other hand, he is a very moldable guy where he could be that guy by the time he's 21, 22. And I don't know. I kind of feel like it would be a bit of a waste if he's just reduced to playing as that deep line playmaker, because I think he does have those carrying abilities that could really add more in the final third. So it'd be really interesting to see how this guy develops, but there's a lot of moldable qualities behind his game. So that's a bit of an understanding around Ayyoub Bouaddi. Again, great experience right now in the Champions League, in the Europa League, in Ligue 1. He's really setting himself up to have a phenomenal career at this point in time. But I do want to discuss maybe some other facets and details as well, because you kind of understand my point. But I also feel like, is he the player that the team needs at this point in time? And I mention this point because for myself, if we're adding potentially like another guy for the future to work alongside all the other guys that we currently have, listen, I think Bouaddi probably in the same age group as Esteval, Kenda. You could probably get away with one more, in my opinion, right? But surely we want to have ambitions now to kind of have a team that's ready to start doing something in the league. And I just think that there has to be that balance where, yeah, the future's secured, but also the medium term, the present, also matters as well. And I just think, you know what? Can I really afford to have a kid that might need another year or two to start adding more forward play that affects the game? There's two options right now that I think would easily be perfect replacements for Lavia if you're really looking for that style of guy. One, you've been seeing on screen is Ayyoub Bouaddi. I think, yeah, for me, he's like the English Camavinga. I've always said that. I think his left foot is great. I mean, the balls he plays over the top that's found Mateta. How much danger has that caused for Crystal Palace? And even more danger against the opposition as well, you know. Medium range passing out of this world. Balls over the top, reverse balls in behind, progressive passes to kickstart attacks, line breakers taking out 2-3 players, and just that ability, that quality to, you know, 8-9 times out of 10, get that forward pass right to release a runner. Sometimes you need that type of balance in your team, and I think someone like him that also has the tactical awareness and the physicality of the league adds something for right now, instead of us having to wait maybe another few years for an Ayyoub to be on a similar level. But another guy that I would also look at if you want like a cheaper, ready-made option has to be Valentin Barco. I remember I got like a little bit of stick from some of you guys in the comments when he was linked with him. I just always felt like Barco was a Chelsea-coded type of player. And I just think this guy is absolutely brilliant and will be at a top club. You know, if I'm Bayern Munich, I'm signing this guy ASAP. But I think for ourselves, with the relationship we have with Strasbourg and the fact that, come on, it's obvious that Barco finally accepted the Strasbourg project because he thought there was a potential for that Chelsea pipeline move in the future. Let's be serious. And I think now that he's showcased that he could be a great option as an inverted style fullback, even as a left back if you want to waste him there. But now, showcasing what he does in the middle of the field to change and affect the game. Yeah, when you're mixing this guy's, you know, those uncontrollable, uncoachable, qualities. You know, the press resistance, the half turns, the Cruyff turns, the flicks, the reverse balls outside the boot. You know, the lofted passes. I think he's got a real fantastic way of that lofted pass. Those little passing qualities that I feel like I would like to see a little bit more of in the team to try and unlock more options against deep and low blocks, right? I look at a guy like Barco and I just think, you know what? Him, Wharton, 22, gonna be 23 soon. These players maybe take you a lot closer to competing and being ready right now. And I just think sometimes you want to strike that balance, right? You don't want to overdo it in one area. And considering that we have Santos, Asuga, Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez, if you're looking to add one more, I think adding maybe a bit of a different type of quality could make a lot of sense compared to a Bouaddi at this point in time. So, my friends, man, yeah, it's a really interesting story. How are you feeling about this news? Do you think that Bouaddi is an absolute no-brainer who's set to go to the top? Which, listen, I think he definitely has that potential. I guess my argument isn't that he's not good enough, but it's just like, how many of these guys can you have at one time? And I think if you're looking to add another youth to the midfield for the future, does that make sense? But at the same time, I've also brought up the possibility that maybe if you're looking to maybe tweak the midfield, which this club isn't afraid to do if they find a better option, could that be question marks on the long-term futures of Asugos and Romeo Lavias and they're thinking Bouaddi? You know, pre-agreement this guy, but the time he's ready to come to us in half a season or a year and a half, we feel like we're going to have one of the best up-and-coming midfield metronomes in the game right now. Where do you fall on this news, my friends? Let me know in the comments right now. And on that note, I will catch you guys later tomorrow on Matchday. Love. Cool.